Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl, and Joy and I are two old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else.
So, I want you to know that this weekend was Fiona's first tournament, her first volleyball tournament. And so I was there for the first two matches. One team they lost to, one team they beat. So the season is off to a good start. It is so much fun to watch these matches. But there was a lady sitting to my right, and I think she's a little bit more introverted than I am. But I was just yakking at her. And I think I drove her a
That's
little bit
how we
crazy.
became friends.
Yeah, right. She reminded me of you, literally, because every time I was done cracking jokes and like yucking it up, she would like look the other way. And I was like, oh, you know how much I enjoy a challenge.
Yeah.
So every time she looked the other way, I'd be like, I need to talk to her some more. I mean, I was on fire too, because like, when it's someone new who's kind of introverted, I always really pile on the jokes,
You dig.
and like all the good stuff. And that's when I always pull out I've got a couple of like hard and true, like steadfast jokes that are always like tried and true, like the
In
ones
your
that
back pocket.
really, really get the smiles. And those are the ones I pull out. So anyway, it was so much fun to see the volleyball parents and chitty chat with them, see the strong athletes. Some are returning, some are new. And then some of the parents are new, some of the parents are returning. That's always fun. Um, anyway, I'm so in awe of these girls and their dedication to the sport because, it's challenging. You're on the road, it was pouring rain, you're sleeping in hotels, you're eating garbage food, you're standing in lines and you're warming up in small spaces and then the pressure when you get out on the court and you got to really deliver. And, it's the first tournament of the season. So that was where I was this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, on that note, just a reminder that this podcast is not for kids. And I even had a chance to talk to a 12-year-old and say, yeah, this podcast is not for you. But maybe when you get a little bit older. And she did a pretty big eye roll. Like, what is this boomer talking about? Anyway, so I got some updates. In order to get ads again for this podcast, we have to have 1,000 listens in 30 days. That means 1,000 times people have to click on this podcast to listen to it. And right now we're at 136 listens in the last 30 days. So in order to bring our ads back, we need 864 more listens. So feel free, those of you listening to this, and those of you who listen regularly, or if you just have it on this, to re-listen to your favorite episodes. Cheryl and I do that all the time. We go back and
God.
re-listen to stuff. Either that or I'm gonna have to listen to this 1,000 times in the next 30 days so that we can bring the ads back.
Yeah, we'll just have to play it on a loop, and instead of using my white noise machine, I'm just gonna have to play it on a loop.
That's genius. No, I think if you listen to the podcast continuously for either 30 or 60 seconds, I can't remember which one it is, Spotify tracks it as being listened to once. So all you have to do is listen to it on loop for 60 seconds. So if you listen to it 60 times for a minute, that's 60 minutes. We're like almost 100 listens in. So, there's a method to my madness. Anyway, Cheryl, do you have any updates?
Just a little one that my jet is peeing in his sleep. So he has to.
He's like me.
So I found out by shopping around on Amazon for diapers for male dogs. It's called a belly band, not a diaper, and it literally wraps around the belly and around the penis, and it works. It really works. It doesn't seem very thick and absorbent, but works the few times. He doesn't do it every night, but anyway, my little jet's getting old.
Aw. I
So,
wonder
so
if
what
that works. I wonder if they make belly bands for big
people?
people. Yeah. I guess those are called depends undergarments.
Yes, I was going to ask, what brand are you wearing? Anyway, moving on.
Anywho, moving on to our shout outs. I have a shout out for our silent listeners or our unsubscribed listeners. I know you're out there because I get reports on how many, like, we have 79 subscribed listeners on Spotify, but we have over 150 actual people who listen to this podcast from all revenue streams. I mean, not revenue stream, but all streaming platforms. That
Mhm.
includes what was formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, um, you well, not YouTube, but all the socials. And Spotify and RSS feed, and I believe podcasters, you can go directly to the source and listen there. So I happen to know that we have people who are not subscribed and who don't have Spotify as as a downloaded podcast,
Platform.
platform, or a, what do you call it? An app. Jesus. I swear to you, sometimes I feel like I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump away from losing it altogether. But anywho, so shout out to our unsubscribed and silent listeners. We hear you, we see you out there. We know you follow us, whether you choose to or not. So there.
Very
You got
nice.
any shout outs, Cheryl?
Just to the podcast Smart List, we should get some kind of endorsement for it,
I
or money,
know.
because you've mentioned it before. But I just want to
I
say, if you're
know.
looking for a very funny show, it's Jason Bateman, who I love dearly, um, Will Arnett, and Sean
Who
Hayes.
I love dearly. I got to
Yeah.
tell ya, I have heard, you've heard the term chuckle fucker, right? It's
No.
somebody, a chuckle fucker is somebody
Oh
who
my God.
really, really is just turned on by a funny person. Get it? Chuckle fucker.
Oh
So
no, I
instead of like,
understand. I've just never heard of it before.
okay, well, I got to tell you, that Will Arnett is so funny. And he's just, I mean, sometimes I hear him just open his mouth and start to form a word and I start laughing. He's so funny.
He
Anyway,
is, and I was not, what I told you earlier was I was not a big fan of his, but man, am I a fan now. He
he's
is hilarious.
sharp. He
He
has comedic timing. Like, I mean, I don't know
he just
anyone.
comes in from the side, like just with his one-liners or whatever. Hilarious. So if you're looking for something other than murder and everything else, we recommend Smartless highly.
Yep, that's right. Anywho, moving on to letters from our listeners. Guys, no letters from our listeners today, and that's only because we're recording two episodes back to back. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, lovely listeners out there, but remember, there's actual stuff happening here behind the scenes. We got elves in the workshop working. Also, we have 93 Instagram followers on our Murder and Everything Else Instagram page.
Oh,
And we're
nice.
up to 79 followers, like I said, on Spotify. So we need to bring up the Spotify followers to match our Instagram followers because we have more Instagram followers. So to all of those of you out there in Instagram world, if you are following us on Instagram, you need to be following us on Spotify. So going, get going with that. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are headed in a different direction this week. Remember how at the end of season 1, we did an episode on the first half of The Golden Bachelor, and then we did a second episode on the final episodes of The Golden Bachelor, and he picked Teresa, and there was a lot of funny stuff that happened, but I think that, Cheryl and I made it infinitely more fun if you've listened to those episodes. And right now, this is the point, Francoise, where you just need to stop listening because I know how much you love The Bachelor. But guys, Cheryl reached out to me and said, they're going to have a golden wedding, which, they didn't even tease it. They just came right out and said it at the end of
Yeah.
the last episode when he picked Teresa. And I said to her, I am not watching that. I hate when they drag these franchises out and beat you over the head with it. But last night, Cheryl's like, you have to watch it because we have to do an episode on it. And I was like, no. But of course, I started watching it and I got completely sucked in. And I was like screaming at the television. Luckily, no one was home. So no family members were hurt or offended by the making of this podcast. But we're going to talk about the golden wedding. And I just said to Cheryl, I feel like they're going to do like a golden honeymoon. I said, I'm glad they didn't call this episode the golden wedding shower because then people would be saying, why don't you just call it the golden shower? So,
Well, hey, can I say something? So, I will have to say, okay, so you all, if you listen to the second part of the Golden Bachelor, Choi vehemently said, I am not watching the wedding. And I said, yeah, we have to. But she was pretty adamant that she was not going to watch it.
I
And
just,
so when I saw it on Hulu, and you're right. Well, I don't watch regular TV, like live TV. Maybe they advertise the hell out of it, but all of a sudden it was there in my feed, and so I
yeah,
texted Joy and I said, "You have to watch this." And she's like, "Oh." And so you looked at it and you said, "It just says episode 1. Are they going to drag
yeah,
this out?" And then I said, "No. Sometimes when they do that with reality type or documentary or whatever, it'll say episode such and such, but it's really just one long movie
yeah.
or show." But
It's
I will tell
so
you,
long.
I will tell you this though. At the last 8 minutes, when they were going to the reception, I thought, dear God, there, because I'm like, it's almost at the end. And Jesse, our dear host, Jesse was like, stay tuned for the highlights from the reception. And I'm thinking, this thing is almost over. Are they
Uh,
going to do a second episode on just the reception?
Girl,
No.
I hope I didn't miss anything good at the reception because I turned it off. I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
got to the I do's and the boo-hoos and the boo-hoos and the I do's, and then I bailed. And let me just tell you, oh, well, let me back up. Gary Jerry Turner and Teresa Niss' wedding aired on Thursday, January 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you guys want to see it, head over to Hulu. I will say that it was a live show, and the only ads that show up in this Hulu live, obviously it's now pre-taped whatever because it's been taped and so that you're watching it, after it happened.
Mhm.
The only ads that show are the people who are sponsoring their wedding registry, and
Right.
wait until I go into what a wedding registry should look like for a couple of 75-year-olds. But anyway, I digress. I
Can
have to just start. Yeah, go ahead.
can I just say before we go into wedding bliss, after the Golden Bachelor finale, there was a lot of stuff that came out about Gary Jerry and questioning his honesty and integrity, that he actually had dated someone before or had a relationship, right, for a couple of years or
Yeah.
whatever before the Golden Bachelor and all this jazz. But it looks like, I hope he and Teresa weathered that storm and are just carrying on, because who knows if Gary Jerry might have been
Guys,
honest with the producer.
he's
And
not a priest.
yeah,
He's not a
exactly.
priest. He's a freaking man. He was married to the same woman for like 55 bazillion years. And sadly, like his future got pulled out from under him. I will tell you right now that if Gary Jerry had headed off to Bone City a week after she passed, that big freaking deal,
Yeah,
Let the
but they
man
made
let the
such
man get his bone on for crying out loud.
all right. Go on.
Anywho, I just want to start by saying, true to form, in less than 2 minutes, Gary Jerry was crying.
You know
I
what? I
mean,
think it was 10 seconds. I am
it
not
was
kidding.
it was
I think it
so
was 10 seconds.
ridiculously short. I get it. You love Teresa. I get it. You're going to wear a suit. I get it. The shoes are going to pinch the fuck out of your feet. I get it. She looks hot in a wedding dress and you're heading to Bone City. Because I was going to ask you, do you think they did it in the fantasy suite? Or do you think, he seemed like a real, like, kind of get to know you guy. And he also was not a kiss and tell guy, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe Gary Jerry, like, dipped his toes into the swimming pool, but he didn't really, like, do a cannonball yet.
My opinion is yes, they did. They bumped uglies because their body language the next morning.
What's the
I
body
just
language?
their body language together.
Huh.
Yeah.
I felt like he was giving her very chaste kisses, much like you would, like when other people were watching. He didn't want to answer his daughters. He was very
Okay.
respectful. And I feel like maybe what he did was he dipped his toes in the water, but he was like, save the cannonball for, like, the golden shower. I
Okay,
mean the
maybe.
golden reception or the golden honeymoon. I
What
just
did
don't
you?
think.
No, I her body language when they were sitting in bed and she was wearing that cute black outfit, and she had the headband on. Her
And her
body.
legs were all splayed open.
Shut up. And she had her hand on his crotch. It was a bit. It was just a subtle
Ah!
detail.
Cheryl. And she was doing that thing, where you have one hand is in a circle and your other fingers going.
Oh my god. No, honestly, I
Like
think they
we're in
did.
high school. I don't think they did. Anywho, that's probably why they ran to the altar so quickly, was because Gary Jerry was headed to Bone City and he's like, I gotta get this over and done with. Anywho, right off the bat, after the crying, Jesse drops this bombshell that his wife is like 900 days pregnant and that she's going to have a baby any moment and he's going to drop everything and run. I'm sorry, Jesse. Like, seriously, I I don't know. I don't know about the producers for this show, but I don't have any sympathy for a guy wearing a tuxedo and standing with the microphone going, "Any minute now, I'm gonna have to run away because my wife's having." It's like, go now, okay? There's traffic. It's Southern California. We all know, well, not everyone, but some of us know what the traffic conditions are like in Southern California. Go to the hospital and hang out with your wife. This is like, I can't even. Anyway,
Well, it must be something in the Bachelor Nation, in the Golden Bachelor water, because was it Sandra? Who was the contestant that missed her daughter's birth? Her daughter giving birth. Didn't
oh, yeah. No, it was her
or
daughter's wedding. It was
oh, I
her
thought it was just
daughter's
the baby.
wedding, but I think I researched that and maybe it was the daughter's second wedding.
Oh,
So
so it doesn't. I'm sure that second husband really appreciates that.
right. I know. Anyway.
Oh,
Okay.
anyway.
And then the other thing that I thought was super, super annoying was, what was the name of that Karen that was like the zip it one?
Kathy.
Kathy. Okay. Kathy had some funny anecdotes, but I felt like she was one, hopped up on goofballs. Someone must have slipped her a gummy or something because she also could not stop interjecting. I was like, girl, shut up and just stand there with your pretty dress on. And I mean, she looked great, but it was like, just shut up. Like she just kept like yapping at people. And I just was like, not, I wasn't enjoying her energy.
Yes.
I
Well,
felt like she was up on a pogo stick. She was just like, yap, 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 yap.
well, she was the loose cannon. She was the
You're
catfish.
telling
Remember
me.
the analogy of the one that's put in there to keep everybody alive and
And then,
alert. She
and
she
then,
was the one drama in the entire season.
well, they
So,
needed
I
to put
mean,
her on a leash because she was all over the place. And what about Ellen and the earrings that Gary Jerry gave her? And she
mhm,
wore them to Gary Jerry's wedding. Did you
I
feel like
know.
that was a little bit weird?
Yes, I did. I did pause at that, and I'm like, is that sweet or is that kind
No,
of
it was
weird?
weird. It was like, it was really, really, really bizarre. I don't
or
know.
inappropriate?
Maybe it
Is it a
wasn't
little
weird. I
inappropriate?
don't know.
Because you were on a
Mm.
show to try to get with this guy and he didn't choose you and now you're wearing it was kind of,
Yeah,
unless
and
you
then
look at it as friendship, I don't know.
she also came off as being a little bit awkward in all of her interviews, or
Hmm.
was that just me?
Well, you gotta see, I'm always like, I always feel bad for people, but they're not professional speakers or actresses.
Yeah, but
They're not.
some of them sure came off like you could tell that Kris Kardashian, whose name is Susan,
Oh yeah,
she's an efficient for a wedding for weddings, so she's used to standing up in front of people
yeah,
and
but
kind of
not
just like
everybody is.
ad-libbing, and she was great, and
She was
she
great. I love
officiated this
Susan.
wedding, and she's just got a lot of poise, and she's very composed. But I feel like you have to get over that. This is part of, they screen test these women. And
Mm,
part of them being selected is they can look past the cameras that are in their face 24/7. So anyway.
yeah.
Also,
I
what about uh what about Teresa's dog? Was that not the most adorable? I don't know if it was Teresa's granddaughter or grandson or daughter's dog, but there was this big golden retriever, golden lab dog with a giant head that was so adorable.
The one that
Oh,
ate the cinnamon balls?
yeah. That's right.
You gotta tell everybody about it.
Yeah, okay. So the show, like, so they keep jumping around between Jesse talking to people who pop up at the pre-wedding. And one of the things I found really, really irritating was they had all of the previous successful or going to become successful or going to tie the knot bachelor couples there, and I found that, and all of the women who are contestants there, and I found it kind of annoying because I'm sorry, I got to pick all of the 200 people that we invited to my wedding. I don't want a bunch of randos at my wedding who don't know me. And one of the things about Bachelor Nation, it's like I get it. Trista and Ryan were on this show like 100 years ago, but that doesn't mean you know them. And
Yeah, but
they
listen,
looked
they're putting
uncomfortable. He looked uncomfortable.
he's so cute though. He has aged really well. I think he's so handsome. Um, but listen, they are footing the bill for this. Like if that's not
Oh, yeah,
true,
I know. So they get to
if
invite whoever they want.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
felt
I'd be
like,
like, you can invite whoever you want. The flowers
and
alone were like freaking
yeah.
amazing.
And the other thing that you learn is not every family member is on the show. And I think what they do is they probably screen test the family members and ask them, like Gary Jerry had his two daughters on the show and his two granddaughters. That doesn't mean that his daughters don't have spouses and that there aren't other grandkids, but those were the ones that agreed to be on the show. Just like Teresa has two daughters and they're married, and then they each have children of their own. And the little grandsons, three of them were on the show, and one of the daughters. But there are more people in the family. And for whatever reason, probably people also can decide, I don't want to be on the show
Oh
because
yeah.
it does open you up to a world of scrutiny.
Oh
And
yeah.
who wants that like scrutiny bearing down on them?
Not everybody's like you, Joy. They don't want the attention.
Anywho, it kind of, as it's jumping around, they go to Gary Jerry hanging out with this really cringy Christmas sweater with the families again meeting together, more crying. And then they're playing this fun game with marshmallows. Did you see that? That looked like a lot of fun. I'm
No,
actually
that's
going to
my
play
memory.
I'm gonna play that game the next time we have a party. You put those red Solo cups on your hands, and then you buy the giant marshmallows, and you have to like you start out with all the marshmallows being in the middle, and the person with the most marshmallows at the end wins. So you have to pick them up somehow with your hands in these Solo cups. But it looked like a lot of fun. So I'm gonna say thank you to Gary Jerry
Jesus,
for
where was I?
introducing me to a new game, even though he was crying. Again, then they, back and forth, but then they're showing how Gary Jerry's wife used to make cinnamon balls at Christmas, and his daughters are now sharing the recipe with Teresa and her daughter so that they can kind of like blend the families together. And more crying from Gary Jerry as he watches them make the cinnamon balls. And I have to say, Cheryl, and this is like genuine, I felt like those girls were so magnanimous and generous and had a generosity of spirit to open their lives. They don't have to get to know Teresa or her family because remember, their parents are not 45. And I know something about this because my mother remarried when she was in her early 50s and her spouse was in his early 50s. And I was 21 when they remarried. My sister was 23. His kids were in that ballpark, I think, because, he had 2 kids. My mom had 4. Most of us were already adults. So we didn't feel the need because of one, the dynamic of the 2 people getting married, and also because of the situation surrounding the marriage. We didn't feel like we needed to worry about blended families. At least I didn't, because I was an adult. I wasn't going to go through all of the things that you go through when you're a child growing up. But I felt like these girls were very generous with each other and their parents because they took that initiative to create memories with their new blended family members and to embrace fully this new person that's now part of their lives.
Yeah, well, I feel like first of all, they were the ones that really encouraged him to apply
Mhm.
for the Golden Bachelor. So I feel like it would be weird for them to encourage him. He gets that far, he finds a husband, a wife, and then they just kind of keep their distance from there. Like it doesn't seem like that that would be true to where they were coming from. They wanted their dad to find happiness, and I think that is that extends to knowing Teresa and getting the families together. Because for
Mhm.
holidays and stuff, you're going to be together. But so I think they wanted him to have that, which means they were going to be involved, with
Yeah.
Teresa's family. So
Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about when Gary Jerry is talking to the grandson. He's like, "I'm in
Aw.
love with your grandma." Were you going to talk about this? And he's like, "I'm in love with your grandma, and what do you think about me marrying her?" And one of
Yeah.
them, true to form of a child, just being completely honest, he goes, "Um, well, we're children. Like,
Yeah. I
why
thought
the
that
fuck
was
are you asking?" I
yeah, I
thought
thought
it was
that
so
was so cute and so honest. I
yeah, he
wish
was
that
like, "Why are you
kid
asking us?"
I wish that kid had gotten more airtime, honestly, because he would have been like, "Who the
That's
fuck are all
so
these randos
funny.
at my grandparents' wedding?"
And why are you
But,
asking me?
right. So at this point, they went to their first, like, commercial break, and the registry, the people who are sponsoring this was Amazon. So the commercial break was obviously a giant plug for Amazon. And then, of course, at this point, I just was like, what the actual fuck could they be possibly needing to buy from Amazon that they don't have stuffed in the recesses of their cabinetry in their home? Because you and I both know that, like, for example, I was 34 years old when I got married. I didn't need a single appliance. Because I was 34, I already had all the shit I needed in my pantry. I had
Well, hey,
towels, I had shoes, I had purses, I had
I
clothes,
had
I had
shoes.
I had tampons, I had everything. I didn't need a single makeup brush, and trust me, if I needed a new pair of shoes, I was going to go out and buy it for myself. So, I I remember distinctly we registered for a movie camera so we could make home movies. Just kidding, haha. We we registered for a movie camera. We registered for things that we didn't have that were frivolous. I think at one point we threw like I think we threw a bar cart on the registry that nobody bought us, but we weren't really like crushed about it because it was like $2,000. Who's gonna buy that? I
Well,
remember laughing and going, if someone buys this bar cart, like we're gonna be probably like we're probably gonna return it and pocket the cash because it was so ridiculous. We really, really struggled to find things to buy. And as a result, I think we got 4 rice cookers. And looking back, I should have been excited and kept them all, but instead we returned all 4 of them because again, I was 34. I had my own flipping rice cooker.
Well, I wonder if anybody, if you and I could go on Amazon and get to their registry.
Ooh, I
I wonder if
wonder. You know
anybody could.
what? Why don't you do that while I'm moving on to what
Okay.
happens after the first ad break? More crying when the girls talk about their mom dying. I mean, it was like also Gary Jerry did that thing again where he starts to mouth the words that other people are saying, and
Oh my gosh.
I can't watch that. I literally have to shut my eyes
I
because
noticed.
it's so cringy. It makes me want to die. If any of you out there listening saw him do that, please let me know. I can't, I don't. And also, if I ever do that, please feel free to punch me in the face. I can't stand it. Um, also, Gary
Oh my
Jerry's
God.
daughter's dresses, can I just say, I don't know, what did you think? I thought their Little Mermaid strapless numbers at the wedding were so adorable.
I did too. I love the ruffle down the side and down the
I
train. Yeah.
loved them. And one of his daughters is taller than the other, but that dress, just like the way it was cut, it was so like flattering and so attractive. Like, it looks good on a woman who's busty. It looks good on a woman who's tall. It looks good on a woman who's curvy. I mean, it just checked all the boxes as far as fashion goes for me.
Yeah, it was very pretty. Okay, just uh you're going to be very excited. I easily
What?
got to the wedding registry on
Nuh-uh.
Amazon for Jerry Turner and Teresa Nist.
Shut
There it is,
up.
right there. Uh-huh. Let's, do
What
you
did
want
they
me to read?
want?
Okay, let me just tell you
Yes.
some of the things they want. They want a bathroom rug and mat. They want a 28-inch moss pole, whatever that is.
What?
Uh,
Is that like a stripper? Is that like a stripper pole?
it's like a plant or something. A, excuse me, a board game named Bamboozled. Um, uh, shiatsu back shoulder and back shoulder massager. I'm just reading off some of these things. You can actually get to their registry, everyone. They're not going to know who you are,
Wow.
but you could buy something interesting.
Wow.
I found it.
Where do
You
you
find
where do
it.
you get where do you get registry information?
I just went to wedding registry in the search field on Amazon and put in Jerry Turner, and Jerry Turner
Oh.
and Teresa Nist come up. Unless
Well,
there's another Jerry
I'm
Turner.
I'm disappointed that they don't have more like scandalous stuff.
Well, that's probably a private registry.
I wonder if somehow them registering for this crap has boosted Amazon sales. Like Amazon needs more sales. Anyway, I'm gonna move
Not
on.
for yourself. It's a wedding registry. Anyway,
Oh,
let's
oh,
get back to the show.
okay, Cheryl. At this point, Leslie shows up, and I gotta tell you one. I didn't realize how tiny and like in the show, she looks really tall, but standing next to Kathy, maybe Kathy is like, the height of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but Kathy was towering over Leslie.
Yeah, she is tiny, just like Teresa is so tiny. She's like
Yeah,
a
and
pixie.
also, right, and also, what was the health scare? She said she just had a health scare.
Yeah, they're not going to tell us.
Well, I want
Yeah,
to know about that.
maybe.
Also, she looks stunning. Did she
Yeah,
not look
she did.
stunning?
all
Wow.
of the all of the contestants, I'm calling them contestants, all of the, what do you call them, anyway, they all looked amazing. I don't
Yeah,
know if it was the
because
person that did that their makeup, because even Kathy, her skin was glowing and
yeah, I
so
know.
like,
And because Faith makes a toast later on, I'm skipping
mhm,
ahead. But she looked so damn classy. I was like, damn,
all of them looked
girlfriend.
so
I was
good.
like, girlfriend looks hot AF. Anyway,
Yeah.
I gotta just tell you, at this point, they pan over to like Trista and Ryan and other bachelorette, like, successful couples, of which I think there's like 3. out of like 5 million. And I got to tell you, Cheryl, there is not a single fat bachelor or bachelorette in the lineup. I want a fat bachelor and a fat bachelorette. And
And that's what
also,
you're going to call it.
and
So
also some of
the
those
bachelor,
bachelors and bachelorettes have been married for 20 years. Why are none of them getting fat?
because they know they're going to have to make appearances on the future
I
Bachelor.
don't care, Cheryl. If I had to make an appearance, I mean, obviously this is podcast, so I'm never going to make an appearance. But if I had to somehow randomly pop up somewhere, I'd be like, look, this is what fat podcasters look like. I get so annoyed. It's like they're all, I mean, what are they going to offer them to eat? You know what at the reception, carrot sticks and celery sticks? My God. Like, I
Well,
can't even, that has got to be like the, I don't know. I can't be the only person who's wanting some fat
feels that way.
bachelors. Yeah,
Well,
guys,
maybe
reach
that'll
out and
be.
let us know if you know of a bachelor or bachelorette contestant who got fat after the show. Could you please write and let us know? Because I'd like to see one.
Oh, I thought you meant they need to have. So after the Golden Bachelor, they need to have the Fat Bachelor as
No,
the
they need.
Bachelor.
I mean, or anybody, like even the ones that got married 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they're all like so scrawny. I'm like, how did they? Because here's the thing, 25 years, like, okay, I am not the same weight that I was 25 years ago. But that having been said, it's like, I mean, obviously, like stuff changes as you get older. None of those
Mhm.
people, they're all like rails. That's why Ryan didn't open his mouth. He's so hungry. If he opened his mouth, he'd probably eat his wife's head off. He'd be like, rah, 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 rah. Also,
He did not say one word. That is true.
right
He's too
at this,
weak.
also, he's probably can't hear anything. He's like, I'm deaf. I'm 100. Anyway,
No,
back to
he was hot. I'm sorry.
at, at this point, they get back in a convertible. I was just
Oh my
like,
God.
why? Why are you in convertibles constantly? And then they're talking about how excited, it's funny because of the show, they do actually have a lot of like little anecdotes and fun things they can kind of share, with each other. And the convertible's one of them. But
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
at this right after they're in the convertible, Teresa said something. She goes, I'm really excited to marry Gary Jerry. It's really fast, but life is short. And you know what, Cheryl? That really, really resonated because life is short, but remember, they're in their 70s. So life is now very short, right? Even
Yeah.
if they live to be 110 years old, they're facing less years on this planet than they've already spent on this planet.
Yeah.
And
That's why
so when
she said,
she said that, I felt like that, I don't know, I felt like that should have been more weighted. Like had she talked more about that, because I just felt like that was so
okay,
that
Miss
just really
ADD.
that just really resonated with
Miss
me.
ADD. She did
Anyway,
in the finale. Joy, in the finale, I said, well, we talked about it. I said I cried when she told him, oh, she told the
yeah.
daughters. When she met
Oh
his
yeah.
daughters, she said, I love your father. And, and she said some other things. And she said, and I don't know how many years we have left. So I want to start now. And I told you I cried. You gave me shit for that. And now you're like,
Well, I gotta tell you, Cheryl, it is a good thing.
honey,
First of all, Teresa is not as emotional as Gary Jerry, and it's a good thing because that guy is going to be blubbering his way through the rest of his life. And it's a good thing that he has a solid woman with a good
strong.
head on her shoulders who's got her emotional groundedness and her feet on the ground, because that guy is just like, I mean, it's like he's walking around with a bowl of onions right under his eyes. I can't even. I mean, they meet the wedding planner and they're eating cake and he's fucking crying. I just cannot.
He even I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but when he meets Neil Lane to pick out his ring, did you catch
Oh,
When Neil
More,
Lane says to him, he goes,
yeah,
"No more tears." Okay. He tells
yeah.
Carrie, "No more
No more tears
tears."
because he's like, you need to shut up. You are like a big old baby. Anyway, I gotta say,
Oh my God.
They brought
Oh,
Natasha, Edith,
yes.
and Joan out, and they all three again looked stunning.
Amazing.
And I'm not kidding you. I don't know what Natasha was doing with that dress and that hair, but she looked like she was 50 and she looked amazing.
Did you
And
notice her earrings? Did
no,
you
what
notice
were
her
they?
earrings? They were chairs, which
Oh,
I
that's
thought was
awesome.
hilarious. Remind
That's
everybody
awesome.
what the reference to chairs are.
Oh, because she said y'all need to have some chairs at the rose ceremony because we're old and we can't be standing around for hours waiting for the lighting and blah 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 blah. And I loved that because I remember thinking that like these ladies are gonna pass. Like I remember reading or hearing something about like behind the scenes where the bachelorettes talked about they're wearing these gowns. Most of them have been on a starvation diet to get into them and to get on
Mhm.
the show. They have been up drinking all night long, and now they got to stand for hours in these uncomfortable shoes that it's not all it's cooked up to be. And I
No.
was like, now you're going to ask a bunch of 7-year-olds to do it.
I thought that was so fun that she wore chairs as her earrings. It was so cute. I thought that was
That's
so
cute.
funny.
Anywho, I got to say that it was a classy touch that they brought Bagley and Mishka out because
Oh my
I
gosh.
am girl,
Holy moly, you guys.
I am a total sucker for anything fashion related, and that was probably one of the highlights of the show for me because one, I I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the wedding dress. I thought the wedding dress was kind of eh. I felt
Oh,
like,
I thought the first one she came down in was gorgeous.
but
Oh
why did they make her come down the stairs multiple times in multiple dresses wearing 5-inch heels? I just saw her stumbling.
tumbling down.
Remember, this is like
No,
all this
no,
trains. I was like, this woman has been
no.
forever cursed with stairs and more
Every
stairs.
every time she had to go up and down a stair wherever it was, I was so nervous that she was
Yeah.
gonna fall.
And
Anyway,
also I have another question, and that is so and I'm not saying this to criticize anyone who gets married
yes, you
more
are.
than one more than more than one time. Because like Cheryl, for example, you've been married more than one time.
Uh-huh.
But
And what you gotta
I
say about it?
I think that like I mean the white dress is a symbol of virginity and purity.
Hey, I
And
wore white.
I just at the age of 70, if I were to get married, girl, I would not be wearing a white straight jacket with that veil and shit. I would, first of all, the veil was annoying the first time. I would probably wear like some like red or a bright color. You know what I mean? Like
I don't
mix
know.
it up.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Anyway,
Anyway,
but I thought the first
did
dress was gorgeous.
Did you think that proposal by the couple wearing green with the guy with the crazy
Inappropriate?
earrings inappropriate and total bullshit?
Yes. Yeah. It was so TV. Like,
It was
okay.
so staged and it was so fake and it was so cringy. I was like,
Yeah.
why did
Yeah.
they throw this in here?
Yeah. No, you know how earlier you were saying if it was my wedding, I'd want to make the guest list and I'd want to know everybody there. My whole thing was if that was my wedding, I don't want anybody else proposing at it. You know.
Right.
So
I know.
yeah.
I felt like it was like, what's like, tell us the story of how you got engaged. And they're like, well, the producers of the show coerced us and threw us an extra grand if we would do it while we were. It's like, I was just like, oh, that sounds so romantic. I mean, oh my God. I can't believe you guys are going to get married. Like, it just
Oh my
seems so
God.
fake.
It's so
And,
true. It's so
and
true.
also, the boudoir shots I also felt was like a little bit gratuitous. I get it. You're in your 70s, you want to look sexy. And you know what? Sexy is in the eye of the beholder. And I
Oh,
got to
I
just say that I felt like it was, I don't know, I just felt a certain way about it. I feel like also, whoa, what's going on with Teresa's legs, girl?
oh yeah.
She
No,
blah blah
I got it.
boom. I mean,
Yeah.
she looked like she had been like deadlifting like 250 pounds with just her quads.
Oh, and everybody, the secret to Teresa's great condition, her body, her daughters or granddaughters, I can't remember who it was, said that she runs in place for 5 minutes every day. That's her workout routine. Do you remember that? I'm like, I gotta try that when
I
I
know,
can
right?
run.
Okay, but
But
what
no,
about mhm.
that shot, that photograph of her when she's looking down and her legs are just, there's no fat and you can just see all the it's so toned. I personally thought it was very empowering for these 70, 60s or whatever all of them were doing these photos, because they were very, like the one of Susan. I thought it was actually pretty cool.
Huh. Well, I just thought it was, I felt a certain way, but I did think that the strippers were awesome.
Oh, and
And
that's what you know what's
I
so funny? I was gonna
remember
say, and I can't stand strippers. It's so cringy.
it was so awesome. And I loved how, what's her face? Guns of Steel was like, oh, they're so toned and they're so buff. And then she goes, I sound like a predator. I was laughing so hard. But then when she shows up at the reception with the stripper, I was like, okay. Like, it's funny how, like, in some aspects, they're very tasteful. And then they always take it one step too far. And that was the one step too far.
I just got to tell you, I feel a certain way about the lap dancing strippers. Like at your bachelorette, I,
Oh,
I,
what? Are we talking about my bachelorette?
yeah, I stepped in the back. I like stepped as far away as I could from that action.
Well,
I
that's because
was like, it
guy
made
was
me so
so cringy.
uncomfortable.
He was
It
so
made me
cringy.
so uncomfortable. Oh my
First of
God.
all, I think he
Mm.
was 4'8". I mean, secondly, I, I was like, if you made a list of all of the things that I find the least attractive
Oh
on
my
the
God.
opposite sex, this guy checked every box. I mean, he was so far out of the box. It was like
Oh,
he was like he'd fallen out. I mean, it was unreal. And
well,
also, I'm pretty sure he had apricots in his G-string. I think he had stuffed them in there before he started dancing. I'm pretty sure one of them fell out. And I was like, "Wait, what's happening?" I mean, I'm not going to go
oh
into
my God.
detail.
Well,
Anyway,
I find it cringy. I find
yeah,
the strippers
the
cringy.
the night before the wedding, they're sitting by the fireplace, more weeping. I mean, at this point, anytime I see Gary Cherry on the screen, I just realize, and this was the point where I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, he's going to cry through the whole ceremony. And that's basically what he does. I mean, after after 55 minutes of fucking around with this show, the wedding finally starts. And every scene this man has been in, he's just like, I mean, why didn't they get Kleenex to produce the segues and to produce the show? Because Kleenex would have cleaned up. They would have made so much more money than Amazon. I'm not going to Amazon right now to buy anything for Gary Jerry, but I'm definitely going to buy more Kleenex because I guess when I'm in my 70s, all I'm going to do is sit around and cry. It is just unreal. More crying as Gary Jerry watches the people walking down the aisle. More tears as the music's playing. By the way, the music was beautiful. They've got like a freaking like chamber orchestra out there.
The wedding, the
Susan,
decor was beautiful. It was
yeah, it was
beautiful.
Susan as the officiant. She was killing it. But again, I couldn't focus on how good she was because Gary Jerry is trying to mouth everything she's saying. And I'm so distracted by his mouth. You know what? It reminded me of one of those like
Oh
dolls that
God.
sits on your lap that, when you throw your voice and you
Oh,
make your hand go up.
ventriloquist.
Yeah. It's like he's a ventriloquist dummy. I was like, shut your mouth and stop bobbing your head.
I know. When they panned over to him and he started moving his lips, I was like, "Oh no, please
Yeah. And
don't,
then
don't."
and then the kids walk down the aisle, more crying from Gary Jerry. Then the kids get up and talk, more crying from Gary Jerry. Then the vows. I was like, oh, we got to get. And of course, the vows are the only time, besides when Teresa's daughter was talking, that she got teary. And I just remember thinking, again, thank God she's there to ground this man because he's just a blubbering mess. And then yeah, and then
And then you
I
turned
like
it
I
off.
said, I turned it off and I didn't go to the reception because I was like, they're gonna have some jackass like the new Bachelor Joey or something show up and talk about like,
Oh yeah,
you
they
know
did.
how they had Joey earlier and he said
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most innocuous bullshit like, I'm really looking forward to the process. I'm really excited about the prospects. I'm really looking forward to the prospects. I can't wait for this to start. I was like, hey, Joey, could you give us more ambiguous bullshit on what this process is like? And he's like, yeah, I'm really happy to be here and I'm really looking forward to the process. I was like, why is he talking? We haven't even seen his episode and he has to show up by himself because remember, he can't show up with any women because then we'll know that like either he didn't find someone or he did find someone and he can't cry because then he's everyone will know he's sad because he did find someone or he didn't. I was like, I don't know. If you
Yeah.
guys find the crying excessive, please write and tell us because I think it's excessive and I feel like they should have given him there's medical intervention. You know, you can take a pill that will dry stuff up. And the reason I know that is because I just know. Just let's just say I know stuff. And if they don't have a pill, they have a pill for other stuff. So make a pill so that men who cry excessively could stop crying. Okay.
Well, I have to tell you, I did watch the reception, and it's a good move on your part to turn it off before. It was very cringy. It
Uh,
ended with them doing "Don't Stop Believing," because that's there was that
uh,
flash mob on their
oh,
first date.
God. I would
It
have been
was
so, my eyes would have rolled back into my head and I probably would have had a stroke. And I was home alone. So nobody would have found me until the next day. I gotta tell you,
uh,
if they drag this out and there's a golden honeymoon, I'm done. I'm not
no, I have
watching
to
it.
say I'm done. I'm done, Joy.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was it was a little cheesy and but the reception was really cheesy and cringy, and I was like, I'm not. That's it. We're done, everyone. This is the
We're
end of that
done. If there's
franchise.
a golden shower, I'm not watching that either. And Francoise, if you're listening, if you're not listening, if you pop back in right now, we're done. There'll be no more golden anything.
You're safe.
That's right.
Oh
You are
gosh.
safe. Anyway, I got to tell you, Cheryl, as much fun as the Golden Bachelor Gary Jerry was, and I'm kind of like, guys, I really did like the fact that they brought a 70-year-old man to television viewing audiences so we could watch this process. I hope that when the cameras are turned off that Gary Jerry and Teresa can skirt back into relative obscurity and enjoy their lives as a newly married couple, getting to know each other and getting to know you, getting to know all. Anyway, I just hope that everything works out for them. And when the cameras turn off, they don't go, oh my God, nobody's watching us anymore. Now I don't like you anymore. I hope it works out
Mm.
for them. And I hope that they don't have any more specials. And I hope that they can go now live their lives doing whatever they want and not end up on Dr. Phil or on
Right?
Judge Judy. But and even though or worse yet, end up on our podcast later on because they turn into some subject of true crime. God forbid. But that having been said, even though this, I feel like this whole franchise now is a crime. But you know what's even a bigger crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That's right, we are. Hope you enjoyed that. Um, Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day.
All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.